What's up, you awesome geeks? I'm Brian, this is the Smuggler's Room, and I have a question for you today. How many times have you been just sitting around and then asked yourself, do they have food trucks in Star Wars? Right? It's the kind of question that keeps me up at night. So I reached out to my friends over at the Smugglers Guild on Patreon and issued a challenge. Create a food truck that fits in the universe that you want. So I think we'll grab some materials, maybe an old toy, and see what we can come up with. Let's get started. I grew up with the original skiff when the movie came out. This is pretty slick. The details are pretty impressive, actually. There's a lot of recessed access and stuff, and I think we'll leave some of that visible. Okay, there's the skiff assembled. I think we need to determine all of what we want to put on this, so we need some parts and pieces. The first thing we need to establish is kind of the cook area, and so I'm going to use my little friend here as a reference for height. This here is the piece that fits over the top of this opening, and I'm thinking that looks like a pretty dang good cooktop. We can elevate that up somehow. We can build some struts to hold it up in there, and then we'll create a cooktop surface here. And then that'll allow us to build the canopy above. Some sheets of styrene, and instead of covering the top of this speeder here with a cloth, I'm thinking about panels. So I'm going to cut a bunch of this styrene, and we're going to make some different panels to go over the top and see if we can make it look like it was pieced together with scrap. The reason I wanted to do panels is because it seems like they would build everything out of scrap. Whatever they had left, that would be what they would build it with. We can get this to bending and hold it till it cools. We got the roof all ready to go. I'm actually going to cut it off because I made it impossible for myself to work on the inside area here. And then I made some little sleeves. And what we'll do is get everything assembled and painted, and then I'll put this back on with the sleeves when we're finished up. My local hobby shop had some really cool model kit bits, and they're like these little individual bags. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these bits and we're going to attach them to the outside of the skiff. Since the skiff has very little room for things, that all of their stuff would be stored in bags, hanging and that kind of thing. I want to work on this little service rail area here where the potential customers of our intrepid food truck delivery man will bring all his tasty treats. So I took the wheels from a tank model kit, flipped them around, and now we've got a pair of little burners. One other thing I'm trying to work on is adding various details. Using some brass tubing to create some pipe work that I can run along the outside edge. The nice thing with brass is I can just bend it slightly, and then I can kind of get an idea of how long I want. As I'm painting, I'm kind of making this up as I go. I am not a model painter by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to use a little airbrush now and lay in color around this inside where it's difficult to get. And then I'll keep doing this patchwork stuff. We'll have to use a lot of weathering to make up for my skills, but it's fun. So we're going to paint some of the bags here on the side, and I want to use this snakebite leather contrast paints. So the best way I can describe it is as you paint with it, the consistency of the paint, it will give you both highlights and shadows at the same time. So I've got the first pass of these bags. You can see the contrast paint as it dries, what it does. These are really nice texture. And now what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll do some lighter colors, do a little shading, try and make this stuff pop and come alive. Put in some blue, and now I'm gonna keep going with some different colors to give it the idea that it's been kind of assembled from a lot of different scrap. And one thing I've always struggled with is not using enough color. I'm going against the grain of what I usually do, and I put a lot of different colors. It's a little nutty for me. There's something about it I'm kind of liking. We're gonna get some weathering on here and tie all this together. Welcome to the weathering stage. I'm using water mixable oil paints with kind of a dry brush. So I'm taking off most of the paint. For right now, I just want to get paint into some of these crevices and build a little shading and shadow. Gives it a little dimension. Next thing we're going to do is make a little wash. So I've got some mineral spirits here, and I've taken some of the oil washable paint, and I'm going to mix in a little cup, and then this creates a wash that we can put over the piece. Last step here is to add a little pigment powder to this. So I've got all these tentacles that I got from one of the Rathtars I did with our terrarium build. And what I want to do is stick them inside this little cookery thing. So I'm going to trim a couple of these. We'll have some little tentacles sticking out of there like a soup of some kind. We're going to glue these in place, and then I think we'll fill it with a little bit of epoxy in there. I did this kind of on an impulse. I just painted a little bit of the epoxy all over the tentacles. So now they're kind of glossy and they're slimy looking. I want a little bit bigger cooktop. This extra thick CA glue does really well with really lightweight metals. Before we show you the final look at our project, I want to share some of the awesome work submitted by the members of the Smugglers Guild on Patreon. In the description below, you'll find their name along with a cool, unique backstory that each one of them submitted. So please take a few moments to check that out. I do want to take a moment to say a big thank you to all the members of our Patreon community, the Smugglers Guild, for all of your contributions. And a big thanks to all of you that joined in this challenge. We hope you had as much fun building yours as we did ours. And sorry that it took so long to get this out. Okay, without any further ado, let's take a look at our version of a Star Wars food truck. I really can't tell you how much I enjoyed this project. I'm beyond excited to continue with working with various toys in our collection, making strange and unusual modifications, and just creating interesting projects with them. I can tell you we have so many plans around this thing that my brain is about to explode. I have been teasing a project called The Pit for almost a year now. And come this fall, we're going to start it in earnest. But if you want to see that, you're going to have to subscribe, and you're going to have to come back the next time we build something out of nothing.